They tell us faculty when we do our training for these online classes that it's always a good idea to open up with a personal detail or two to try to make yourself a little more relatable to your class. And so I thought I would tell you, this story from my past classes and an experience I've had with them. And it essentially concerns the question, and it's a deep question, who should play me in the movie when it gets made? And I asked my classes over the years who they think should play me. And early in my career, a long time ago, very often Sean Connery was mentioned. Um, Later on, Harrison Ford was a common choice. More recently, someone like Ryan Gosling is often mentioned, or any of the Marvel Comics universe superhero actors named Chris. Any of those people, I'm sure, would do a great job and have a great time playing me in the movie. But inevitably, whatever conclusion the class initially comes to, there's always some student in the class who eventually will say, no, wait, that's not it. It's that guy from Back to the Future. Yeah, that's him, Doc Brown. Christopher Lloyd is the actor who played Doc Brown, but inevitably the rest of the class will go, yes, that's who should play me in the movie. Now I know I am as totally baffled as you are right now at that choice. It makes no sense to me whatsoever, but that seems to be a consensus among a lot of my students. And so I thought I would use that and share that as a personal detail. One other thing I'll go ahead and share is a couple of my passions in life. One of them, as you can tell, is fashion. This is, of course, one of my standard teaching uniforms. And it is always important that you look, as professional as possible when you are in front of a class. The other passion in life, of course, is chemistry. And of all the realms of chemistry, one of my absolute favorites is spectroscopy. And out of all the forms of spectroscopy, it is NMR spectroscopy, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. That's the one that I just have to think about for just a moment. Oh, 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 such interesting stuff. And that is mostly what we're going to be looking at in this online summer class. So a couple of words on the format of this online summer class. By now, for good or ill, many of us have had a lot of experience with online or some version of online class. For this one, I've taught it a number of years, way before the pandemic, in an online format. And even before I knew the word asynchronous, that's the format we're using. In other words, there's no scheduled class time. There's no time to be on Zoom or anything like that. It will essentially, the materials will come up each week. I usually try to get them posted so they open up every Saturday as we move into the rest of the semester. And there will be deadlines, usually on Wednesday and on Friday. And so with assignments that will be due. And some people will, make the deadline usually like Wednesday at 11:59 p.m., at 11:58 p.m. Others will get things turned in by Sunday night or Monday morning or something. And it works out, pretty well for everybody concerned, whatever their location is right now, whether you're near the campus or somewhere else in the world, and work schedules and all the others. So people can work around those and still do well in the class. In a standard face-to-face class that some of you may remember fondly, and some of you, may look forward to getting back to at some point in our future, there is one mode of operation in a face-to-face class that absolutely blows rocks. And that is if someone puts a PowerPoint up on the screen and reads it to you. Oh my gosh, that is one of the absolute worst experiences you can imagine. The only one worse than that is an online class with a narrated PowerPoint where they dare read you the PowerPoint in the online class. There is nothing on this planet more of a bore hole than that. So, there are not going to be any narrated PowerPoints in this class. There's going to be quite a few videos. Crappy videos, admittedly. There are 8-year-olds making far better videos than anything I'll ever come up with. I know this. They're going to be mostly crap, but they are my attempt to reproduce some of the talking directly with students experience here in an online format, where I think I, have my best chance of trying to convey information and enthusiasm for the subject. So there are going to be quite a few videos. I try to keep them relatively short. The longest of them will run about a half an hour. So my best suggestion, and it comes from a former student, is put on the noise canceling headphones, hit double speed, and away you go. I do suggest you try to take notes on them almost as if you were in a class, because you're going to be using them as you work the assignments as we hit each individual topic as the course unfolds. So that is mostly how I'm going to present the class material in this course. The course website will have the details. I try to maintain the calendar really well and put news items up in Folio each week and updating the students on what we're looking at that week and when the deadlines are and what to expect. As far as a location for when I record these videos, often we'll be here. This is my office, my little slice of heaven here on the Statesboro campus. I use this space because it's convenient for recording, and I have access to all the software that I use for not just recording, but processing and displaying, presenting NMR spectra. And once in a while, we'll be down here. This is my lab here in the building. This is where almost all the samples that you're going to see get made up. Almost all of them will be genuine samples that I make or that my colleagues have made in their own research labs. This is where I have the solvents that I use, and we'll talk more about them. This is where the NMR tubes have their origin and where they get made up, and if I need to, where I also store them. It's kind of loud in here, I must admit. The hood kind of interferes with everything, but what can you do? Sometimes we'll be down here, and sometimes we may even be down here. There's the big glorious beast itself. Ain't she a beauty? And it's loud in here too. It's loud in a lot of places around here. All the blowers and everything kind of interfere. So let's move on. And sometimes I might be down here on the light board. It's kind of dark in the room, but it allows me to do something like this. To right here and face the class through the camera. And it's my attempt to essentially reproduce kind of the feel of being able to write on, a whiteboard or a blackboard in the class. If I try to do it in front of the camera, I would be constantly, turning my back to the class and then turning back around. And it's just kind of awkward. I don't really like it. So this way, I still get the same spontaneity of being able to write out things like little equations and manipulating them, some of which we will get to later in the class. And I kind of like it because it allows me to be able to reproduce kind of an in-class example problem of how you work through something. Allows me to kind of explain the logic and my thinking of how I put some of these things together in a way that tries as much as I can to replicate an in-classroom type of experience. So sometimes we'll be down here. And finally, a word about the folks who generally take this class. Sometimes it is populated by people from, say, an organic chemistry class who are really interested in the spectroscopy part, the little bit of it you got in organic chemistry, and want to learn more about it. Great, we're going to learn an awful lot about it, and you're going to need to remember a fair amount of your organic chemistry, not necessarily the mechanisms, but the functional groups and what the various structures are. So we'll be talking a lot about organic as we move through the course. Sometimes people take it because they've used NMR in their own research in whatever research lab they may be working in and want to understand more about it. great. You're definitely going to see, frankly, some of our example problems will come from the research labs. Some of you may be planning on going on to graduate school in an area that may strongly involve NMR spectroscopy, either organic synthesis, pharmaceuticals, whatever. Great, we're going to talk about a lot of that in this class as well. And frankly, there's a fair number of people who they need a couple of more darn credits, and this is the last thing they can take, and at least it's online. And so if you're in that category, welcome to the class. I hope you get something out of it, and you'll do well here despite it all. And so communicating with me, I pay very close attention to email and try to respond to all student emails as quickly as possible. Very often I turn student emails, if they have questions about one of the assignments, into, say, a news item that I post on Folio, where I give my answer not just to the one student, but to make it available to the class. There's also some new software that the university is implementing for recording videos at your desktop using the screen and everything. And I'm going to try to implement some of that, particularly to help students as we start learning how to interpret NMR spectra. Also, Zoom. If people want to meet for a Zoom meeting or something, I'm not sure if there's going to be a demand to have like a regular Zoom meeting. Not required of anybody. Like I say, it's an asynchronous class, but sometimes people may prefer always on on this certain date at this time or something. As we progress, if people think there might be a need for that, please let me know. We can certainly set that up. If people need to ask a detailed question on Zoom personally or something like that, sure, we can set that up as well. So final word. A lot of NMR spectroscopy, especially the interpretation stuff, is really a giant Sudoku puzzle. There's a lot of logical deduction here. If doing a Sudoku is your idea of, hey, this is pretty interesting, it's kind of fun to do, great. If it's not your favorite thing in the world, well, you can still do well in the class. But there is quite a strong aspect of puzzle solving, of pulling a lot of little bits of information together to come up with, a solution to the problem. And so I hope that you all gain a lot out of it, find the course interesting, a little bit challenging, and come out of it with an appreciation for just how powerful all spectroscopy, but particularly NMR spectroscopy, is in our wonderful world of chemistry. It's going to be an interesting summer. Welcome to the class.